Hey guys, Gary here, back at the Russian cash tables today. My bread and butter. Much prefer doing live play videos in this format just because I think it's just a bit of a cleaner experience. We get in more spots, more hands, and I just feel like my analysis is a little bit more on point with use of the replays when needed as well. Yeah, it's just going to be a mix from me, but as always, look forward to your feedback on which of my kind of formats and content you enjoyed, improvements I can make and so forth. And today we're just going to 3-table Russian cash 200. I think 3 tables is a nice happy medium behind getting in enough spots and not being too rushed in my analysis or thought processes while I'm trying to talk about it in game. The 6-5, yeah, just an easy give up, I think. We're going to have a decent amount of draws on this board to choose from as our bluffs. Big c-bet from opponent on this board, which is perfectly fine. We have a clear check call, and turn is where I think we start to be slightly more selective in terms of what hands we continue. Now I think I want to, as my hand will have 3/4, I think we probably just want to block. When he goes 3/4 check the turn, he's pretty much giving up the pot, to be honest. This is kind of where I feel like players make a lot of mistakes in their strategy. Choosing a smallish 4-bet here against a likely recreational with aces. No need to be going too ham here this deep. Kings were all in. I'm going to stop and talk about this ace-9 hand a little bit. What do I do? I think against this player I just want to check and just kind of induce or allow them to catch up with some underpairs and call them if they hit a lower set. This player looks pretty tight, but I've got them labeled a recreational. They've only played 19 hands today. Small 3-bet. My hand plays perfectly fine, so I think I'm going to call. We get a half-pot stab here with the aces, which is really nice. Facing pots with the 10-8. Aces, I think we just have to check and hope he bluffs. So basically he's going to shove the turn. I think I might just fold it with a player behind as well. Jacks. Yeah, noteworthy that. Like this one, this is like when you're playing against recreational players, like it's very easy to just think about, I'm just going to range c-bet quarter pot in these spots, which is going to be your kind of strategy against regs, just so you're not kind of exploitable and so on. Whereas when you're playing against recreationals, you just need to move away from that and do exactly what your hand wants to do. And like recreationals just do lose their minds. So here, my strategy against this player, I would be 10% c-bet, very, very small to induce some continues, and then they'll turn hands into bluffs on future streets, or it's just check and allow them to kind of catch up. You know, if they have jacks and they turn a jack, then we win a stack and so on, and just spew bluff and all those types of things. So with a hand this strong, I'm going to go for the check. Whereas if I've got maybe ace, king, or something like that, or kings, it's very robust. I would still choose the 10% just because the SPR is so low, whereby we can still easily get the money in. If we go 10% check turn, we can still shove the river if we want to for like a pot-ish size. So yeah, it's just, when you're playing against recreationals, you really need to get your brain moved away from thinking in terms of like equilibrium or theory or ranges and stuff like that, and just think about how you're going to win the most money. The ace-9 hand. So this is the problem I have with people kind of trying to implement complex strategies and choosing the optimum size on the flop. So what people do is they kind of study spots using a solver in isolation and thinking, okay, ace, king, jack board. I'm not saying it is the highest EV size, but just take it as an example. The highest EV size is 3/4. So that's what I'm going to choose on this board, and then do all different boards. There's a massive problem with that, is then you can't just pick a flop in isolation, because what about the turn and the river? How much EV are you capturing on the turn and the river? Like, are you playing those streets properly? Because if you're messing up future streets partly because of your complex flop strategy, then it's not worth using that flop strategy, which is why simplification is so powerful, because you're then going to be in very familiar spots time and time again. You know how your opponent's going to react to it because you're in that spot and you've studied it more in depth. And also you know how you're playing turns and rivers. So that it's particularly when you're newish to the game and not very experienced, like just repetitions and playing against humans and seeing how they react time and time again against certain strategies is really valuable. And then in time, you can add more complexities because you become more experienced. This is a strategy I'm talking about against like regs, semi-regs, those types of players. Recreationals, you just want to do what your hand needs to do. The other thing from a data point of view is that the range c-bet, if you like, the small size, is still played badly by your opponents in terms of when people range c-bet in spots they're not supposed to. Your opponent is supposed to check raise very, very aggressively and move their strategy a lot. Thing is, humans have studied equilibrium responses. So, for example, I don't know if this player is using a complex mixed strategy or whether they're range betting a board. So if I know they're range betting, then my response is to check raise very, very aggressively, like doubling my check raise frequency is what a solver would do. Whereas I'm guessing, I don't know whether they're range betting or not, so I'm guessing. So unless you are adapting enough, then by range betting, you're getting a lot more EV because players are overfolding and under-raising against it from what they should be, not just from the equilibrium strategy, but what their node lock strategy should be if you know your opponent is range betting. So essentially what I'm saying is players are still playing very badly against the small size. So a simple strategy is still very, very powerful, not just because of that fact, but also obviously it's simple to implement. So you're going to be preserving mental energy, playing turns and rivers better, and so on. So there's just so many benefits to it. Now, I'm not saying that you should just range c-bet every board and go from there, but I'm saying it's a very powerful strategy to have as your default when you're not sure about the optimum size to use, or you're not sure how you're then going to play turns and rivers if you use a bigger c-bet size. Okay, right, let's get back into the action and try and find some spots after this table 2. I'm going to be opening this spot super, super wide because of this massive whopper in the big blind. Trying is one I'm going to be playing pots against them. Heads up. They 3-bet really wide. Ace-deuce suited here is a clear call, especially against a small 3-bet. I'm going to be calling here probably my entire range. This player 3-bets like, it's only 150 hands, but they do 3-bet this all the time, like 20%. And now we're just going to stab and try and take this pot away. I think something like a third pot makes sense. Table 1, 10 unsuited, just an easy call against a small 3-bet. Yeah, so the table dynamics are really, really important. And this goes for Russian cash formats and reg tables. Like in reg tables, they run around the recreationals, and it's basically a race to who can win their money the quickest before they lose it and leave. So you need to implement certain skills and not be robotic with your pre-flop strategy. Like you need to isolate them. Some limping ranges, some bigger opening sizes are important in certain spots, just to play as many pots against them as possible. 10-9 suited, I think checking back the turn with this much equity, like we don't want to get blown off it by getting jammed on. This player type as well is just still going to play very honestly and check fold rivers, so we can just delay our bluff to the river. And now we just have a clear value shove. Yeah, so the table lineup is really important. So when you're playing Russian cash, it's tempting here, but he's so short. I just don't think I could do much with Queen 9 suited. In Russian cash, whatever fast format you're playing, like the table lineup is really, really important to how you deviate with. I think this is going to be a big bet or check, and King 6 of clubs I don't think gets in there. This small blind calling range is going to contain a lot of like these kind of offsuit broadways. Yeah, the table lineup is gonna decide whether like everyone kind of understands pre-flop ranges now, right? A lot of the spots, there's quite a large chunk of your range is kind of mixed frequency 0 EV. And the table lineup is going to decipher whether those 0 EV mixed frequency hands are going to become winning or losing. Rolling an RNG with the 5s here, rolled a call. And we're check raising this one pure. Particularly on like a dynamic board where I can find heaps of bluffs, we're just going to check raise our bottom set every time. Yeah, so for example, when the recreationals are in the blinds, you want to open wider when with regs have position on you, because what's going to happen more often than not is you're going to play in position against the recreational, which is just a massively profitable spot. Jack 10 suited, table 1, I'm just going to call this tiny squeeze. This player looks relatively tight. Facing anything half pot with a player behind 3-way, I think I'd fold my hand. Third pot, I think we call with the backdoor draws. Here, I think we just have a clear check. And we'll check again. But if the recreationals have position on you and then the regs are in the blinds, you want to open tighter, because what's going to happen too often is the recreationals are going to call, which is then going to incentivize the regs behind to either overcall or squeeze. So you're going to go multi-way out of position, or you're just going to have to open fold a lot. And these are really important adjustments to make, and it's when I talk about being flexible. I am tempted just to raise this with Jack 10, you know. I think we'll just call. Ace 5, we get called in 2 spots. Gonna go for an overbet here. Yeah, I kind of felt like this player would have something like this, but I don't think they're fold. They're short, they're a fish, like they just don't like folding jacks and queens. So I think calling, good price, etc. is fine. There is a chance I'm still winning, just against some random like pocket 8s and ace queens that both players might have. Just writing some notes on these players while they get a chance, and talking about this other hand I play here, the ace 5. Yeah, so when I get called in 2 spots using a small size, firstly the buttons is a recreational, so their range is going to be pretty wide here. They're going to just have a lot of like pocket pairs, a lot of random king queen off, backdoor spades, all this type of thing. And then when this player who looks kind of reggy, I haven't played against them before, when they just overcall, they're going to be super capped, right? They're going to have just a lot of maybe 6-7s, again, more backdoor spades, maybe some like king 4 stuff. So basically both players just have heaps of hands in their range that they're going to auto fold the turn. And then even facing this overbet 3-way, like what's someone going to do if they've got Jack 8 suited or Jack 10? Well, they're probably just going to overfold it facing my big bet. I've got equity, I've got an overcard, I've got a gutter, I can bluff on diamonds. So I think all those things considered, it's just a nice spot to go for what I guess you'd call a power bluff. 8-9, we'll just continue here if I picked up some additional equity on the turn, or go bet check bet line here. But I think we can just, yeah, give that one up. Small bet with king queen off. Like, it's pretty disconnected. The queen, there's obviously some connectivity of the queen and the 9. But like queen 9-6 or queen 9-7, I think that's where the board is more, connected. That's when you're going to want to use the bigger size. Like queen 9-4 is kind of close. And again, like what I touched on at the start of this video, like ultimately the EV difference is negligible between sizes. So it's just how you're playing your entire range and strategy across multiple streets is the most important thing. Queen 9 off against min, against quite a big recreational player. I'm just going to be calling very, very wide with a post-flop skill edge. Do I want to raise this? No, I think we can call for this price and then bluff river when it goes check, check, turn. Because this player is just going to play relatively honestly. They use the small size on the flop, which is already quite weak. So then if it goes check, check, turn, I can just get them to fold their like ace highs on the river. And with a chance I may be winning anyway. When they fire again for like B80 or whatever it was, then we obviously just have a clear fold. 10-7 is going to start small here. Small blind shouldn't have much 5x, and they're just going to be weighted towards having just a lot of like random offsuit broadways. The big blind range obviously super wide, so from my hand, we could just start small here and just, you know, we've got 2 overcards to the board. We can get opponents to fold some king highs, ace highs, backdoor clubs by turns and rivers. We're blocking 7s and 10s, which is going to be like some of the strongest pocket pairs these guys have. We block some 7-5 suited, so it's just going to be a nice spot to see bet, kind of take it from there, get a cheap bluff in. Ace 9 suited here gets the big 3-bet. This player playing 31-16-5. So we just are going to be folding that. This player's pretty loose pre-flop with the pocket 10s hand. However, I think 10s here is just going to be best played as a call. Ace 9 with 3-betting. In these spots, these players just open super, super wide. So any kind of reasonable ace here is going to be a profitable 3-bet. 10's just an easy check call. Facing a turn bet, I think we fold 10s here. We're either miles behind and dead against like over pairs with a club, or like king jack off with the king of clubs, hands like that. Or opponent's range just has massive equity and might triple anyway, so we have to fold river. Like if he has kind of king queen off of a club, ace king, ace queen off of a club. So I think here we just fold 10s, and I just prefer to be calling 5-4 off here is kind of close. It's min. I just prefer to be calling like 7s and 8s with the club, just with the additional straight draw equity. And also I'm blocking some potential more bluffs this player might have. 4-5, like 5-4 off, I think we prefer defending against like early position against the min, just because they're going to have a higher weighting of the high cards. So the low boards we're doing better. Whereas cutoff is opening like 5-6 suited, 6-7 suited pure. So therefore those low cards aren't doing as well. This player's 3-betting pretty tight here. So I'm going to fold 9s. They are short as well. Big 3-bet size. So A4 suited will defend against a recreational min and check raise this board unless opponent uses a big size. Snap check back. Deuces will call and go from there. Snap check back. So I'm going to just do this exploitably with 8-4. It's not really a thing in theory, but it's going to work fine. Deuces we fold now. If check 2, I'll tell my hand to bluff just to get opponent to fold 6s through 10s. I think we call 8-4 and go from there. Fair enough. It was tempting to 3-bet the turn. I think I would 3-bet the turn if I had 8-9, 8-10. Because opponent can have like straights. My 4 blocker is just garbage. Or not that relevant at least. So, but he's either gonna have, but I unblock some bluffs as well. Like he could have just random jack 9, jack 10. So I think calling with this combo is fine, and then block into 3-bet with my 8-9, 8-10 where I block straights, and also block some of his strongest captures from my ace 9, ace 10. Ace 4 will start with a check here, 3-bet pot. See what opponent does. Looking for timing and sizing clues. I'm going to check again and check call down now. This player with a 43 VPIP is just going to have heaps of random like jack 10 offs, queen jack offs, and so on. And same principle applies on the river. There's not much we lose value from by checking here, other than like ace king, ace queen, which might find a hero call. King 8 offsuit. Yeah, so happy with the way I played that. Just pretty unlucky, really. This is a check here, and queen jack off I'm going to open in a weak lineup. Like not really any good regs in this lineup that are going to punish this by squeezing, so I don't mind if we go out of position or 3-way. Queen jack into check raise, 7-4. I think on this card we check now. I would value bet a brick, but he can still have 9x here. So I think checking that, I think it becomes a bit thin. Check raise, queen jack, and then yeah, would be hammering it on a lot of turns and rivers against that player with a wide weak range. Just to get them to fold like just some random pocket 5s, pocket 8s, 9s, like 7x. Ace 5 can do different things here. Start with a half pot stab, I think, with some backdoors. Just having some bluffs on like runouts, like a 3, a 6, an 8, a club is going to be quite important. So therefore, like this one is a nice one to be able to have bluffs on future streets. I think now I'm giving it up though when we don't pick up any additional equity, and the king's just such a good card for the small blind. So I'm going to continue bluffing like actual equity hands, like straight draws, flush draws over this. 4s, I'm going to check call and go from there. King 9 suited, this pair looks quite tight, so I'm going to flat. Going to lead now with the 4s. King 9 is bet small and probably win this pot every time. Either turn or river. And think small again. Kind of gets the job done. From what I'm trying to fold out, just ace jacks and stuff like that. Fours I'm going to block. Does this player have any 7x? I guess I fold. I think my combo's great in terms of what opponent could find bluffs with. I think they could find bluffs with like random 9x they call the turn with. So I think giving up there is the best play. Kings, I think at this point when it checks twice is a clear value bet just against all the worst pocket pairs. And obviously block his check backs with king high. So I think he's just going to either have air, which should have bluffed before now, or just have like 9s and 10s and 7s. We get raised, so I think we fold. Although, my note is that this player is aggressive on the river. Fours were calling this deep. I guess I'm folding kings. Fours I'm firing. Yeah, just thinking about those spots. So I'll come back to that. There was a hand here I wanted to talk about first. Yeah, so the fours, the idea behind the turn block is just because I've got 2 players left. This player's going to check quite a lot in position with all their mid-strength stuff. So I don't want to allow it to go check through basically with a recreational in the middle. So I decided to lead myself, get called by draws, get called by pocket 5s, 6s, jack X, etc. And if the button does have, like, this player here overcalled in the middle is just going to be super weak, right? So if, I'm going to stab this one. If the button has a strong hand, then the money's going in anyway, right? If they got 3s or deuces, they're going to raise turn. I'm going to raise ace jack here. Gets this lead, which is just garbage from a recreational. They just kind of dog too wide, too weak. So we can kind of punish that. Like he's just going to be leading here with just random garbage as well as like mergey 5s, 6s and so on. So we can kind of, yeah, punish it. Turns out they have a hand this time, but it's fine. Just data incentives as well as experience there make that spot really profitable to raise those small leads from recreationals. Yeah, so the fours. And then on the river, I think small again is good because if opponent does have 3s or deuces, then he's raising. If he has ace 5 or 5, 6, he's raising. We might get some random bluff money from pocket 5s or 6s or something like that. And we just get a like crying call from king jack as well as maybe some worse hands. So it just has multiple benefits. Whereas I think using a bigger size, because I think if I use a bigger size, it's going to be quite transparent. I've just got a strong hand, so they're going to overfold their jack X. Whereas against this size, I think they're just priced into call. So it's kind of a funky play. But like the thing is about these multi-way pots is they're hard to study. So a lot of multi-way pots, which that's the problem with solvers versus reality. Like solvers don't take into consideration, firstly, all the different player types you're playing against, how humans actually play, and also like multi-way pots, which happens a lot in practice when there's recreationals involved. So there's a lot of kind of engaging your poker brain, adapting, thinking on the fly that goes on. 7-8, I think we're going to bluff this. King 8 suited, definitely 3-betting against this player who called a 3-bet with King 8 off before, if you remember that hand. I'll load up the other hands that I missed. Easy fold. 7-8, I think we are going to give this one up now. Just, am I going to get folds from like ace jack, ace queen here? I'm going to give up. Wow. Like, wow. It's just, yeah. I'll come back to that one. Queen 10 made a loose 3-bet mid position but early position, but against Paul, who under 4-bets, these hands become profitable. 7-4 suited against 3x. I think I'm still defending just with a post-flop edge and an honest player. Yeah, the pocket fours here in the replayer. 3-bet pot deep. Like this player, like players just don't understand how to play deep, and they just kind of range c-bet spots where they shouldn't. And this is kind of one where I just have more sets than he does here. So I think we can just put a lot of pressure on this spot. Gonna leave the 4-3. Yeah, can put a lot of pressure on this spot with our kind of 6-7, 6-5s, 8-7s, 8-9s, 10-9s, these types of hands, with the idea that we can get him to fold some weak ace-x, even like ace-jack, ace-queen here is in a real tough spot, like fold his jacks through kings. I think these low pockets are often used just to balance, like I'm going to want to be fast playing some 6s, 8s and ace-king here to get stacks in by, and also ace-8 suited to get stacks in by the river when we're this deep. And other hands that I wanted to discuss. Ace-10 suited will call this 4-bet. We are deep here, but suited aces, I'm just going to prefer, basically with this team, I'm just going to prefer 3-betting hands that play well deep and can defend against 4-bets, so like suited connected, suited aces over offsuit stuff. Check fold on that board. Going to squeeze 9-7 suited, just a really profitable spot with dead money. And it's a hand that's going to play fine post flop, particularly when you flop the nuts. I think starting small here is a good play. They won't have that many folds on this board, and like against small, they're just going to call all of their overcards. Induces some bluffs, and the c-bet small into check call lining its recreationals is just massively profitable. Yeah, we're just check calling down. He can have queen jack here. Yeah, I was hoping for a diamond river. Like, we're obviously never folding. Ugh, yeah, he's got queen jack. Ah, sigh. Alright, that's just, yeah, grim. What happened here? We had a small 3-bet from the big blinds. I'm going to bet big now with equity, give up river. Just suspect he's got a lot of weak ace-x here, pocket kings. So I think now I'm just going to jam, because if he's got pocket kings, he's not folding. If he's got pocket aces, he's not folding. But these hands may just check call against a bet. And he can just hero with me with like ace-jack or ace-9 or something. So we're going for it all. Okay, right. I suspect he had something like jack-10, jacks there, 9, something like that. A7 suited here, 3-way with a big recreational involved. I'm going to overcall. So this queen jack hand just sucks. Like, it's just a real sick one. Like, you can argue that the squeeze isn't great, but like there's just dead money from the small blind. It's a recreational opener who I'm just gonna have a massive post-op edge against, even if they call. They're opening the button wide. So I think all those things considered, it's going to be fine. A huge check raise with ace queen, so I am going to fold. Yeah, but like this bet's going to show up here, random king queen, king jack, ace jack, pocket fives, like all random bluffs. So I'm fine with the call, obviously. Like I'm not folding straight here ever, but I would call this spot wider than this. Yeah, I'm just going back through the replayers just to find other hands. Ace queen here, just 3-bet blind v blind. C-bet took it down, very standard. Yeah, the ace-10, 3-bet call to 4-bet. Again, very standard. We can find 5-bet bluffs in this spot because the button is going to 4-bet wider, being deeper stacked. However, I'm just going to prefer doing that, like, because we're only really 5-betting aces and kings sometimes. I kind of just include too much of those. I'm going to be massively bluff heavy. So I'm just choosing like a couple of combos of ace-5 suited to balance your aces is all that's needed and should be done. Unless you know that your opponent is just massively overdoing it with 4-bet bluffing. The A7 suited, yeah, 3-bet pot 3-way. Went check on the flop, so the button doesn't really have many strong hands. This player can have some sets here. And like some stuff like Jack Queen suited, but I just think having a shot at this pot here is going to work well. I've got a gutter, I've got an overcard. This player can like have 5s and 6s. This player can have a lot of ace kings and ace queens. Like they're all going to fold. So I think stabbing here with some equity is reasonable. And as proved, took it down. As I said, just yeah, do comment if you feel like I missed any spots. The ace queen, I think we can see bet here with spade diamond. Just allows us to have some of these hands in our bluffing range on future streets, as well as the fact that the small c bet just works really well against population, as I touched on at the start of this video. We're going to raise the jack 10 now and pick up equity against a small stab. Just going to be too mergy and weak there from that player type. And we obviously got equity and we'll just go nuts on the river. Like bet size equals hand strength a lot of the time with these player types. So I can even get him to fold some of his strongest hands on the river by using an overbet. Like just going to overfold his king 9 suited and stuff like that. Queen 7, we're just going to almost range probe this board, I would imagine. Going to 4-bet the king queen off here. We got a recreational big blind who I'm super deep against, whose range is going to be wide here. Hopefully I get past this player on the button. It's just a hand that has nice blocking effects in terms of 4-bet to 4-bet with, but doesn't play great multi-way, being offsuit. So therefore we're just going to probably choose to 4-bet this one this time with what is considered some amount of dead money here. And we get jammed on, so we have an easy fold. Check called the Queen 7 in the replay now. Yeah, don't like having the Queen of Clubs, but I just think for half pot, like the opponent can find bluffs here. Like, he can just be turning any random ace high into a bluff as well. He's good enough to do that. Just with it, kind of me being looking pretty weak here and probably overfolding like 5x, 4x, 7x, and so on. You can just have random 9x as well, like King 9 and stuff like that. King 10 suited will check back here. This 7 is just going to be like, so when I say about simple strategies and using like a range c-bet, what I kind of mean a little bit by a range c-bet is basically my only size in a lot of spots is the small one, but it doesn't mean I'm betting pure. Going to use a bigger squeeze size here with this player who's deep and looks like a massive whale. King 10 easy call, gets overbet. Nice hand. Half pot bet, we're going to call the 8-5 suited, and now we're going to call him with all this equity. And we'll just stick the money in now ourselves. Surprised we got a fold from a 57 V pipper. With the queens there. But like this spot, like the problem by squeezing too small here is that if this player calls, this player is probably calling range. And also this player is probably just going to be weighted towards having like a decent amount of kind of 7s, 8s, 9s, and be one of these like reg fish type players. They're just going to call those too much against the 3-bet anyway. So I think I like squeezing just to try and go heads up against one of the players. And obviously this whale was not really folding very often. They did this time, but we're deeper and want to get money in, and yeah, just want to use bigger sizes with our stronger hands. This Jack 10 board is tempting to use a bigger size. I think I'm going to, just to maximize our fold equity with this type of hand class, which wants to clean its outs and get like King 10s and King Jacks to fold. And yeah, it has 2 overcards, has a diamond and a heart. It's just a nice one to use. And I think I'm going to fire again on the turn, again with 2 overcards, and just that this player is probably going to call. First, they got some auto folds, just some random gutters and straight draws or stuff they can't continue with. They're probably going to have some like ace, queen off with a diamond there now, probably going to fold, as well as other random stuff. So on the face of it, it doesn't look like a great bluff after I used the big flop size, and just with my blockers having a heart, having a diamond, where I block like King 10 of hearts, ace jack off, the jack of diamonds, hands like that. But I just think the nature of how these spots play against these player types is they just check call, check fold way too much, and they're probably going to overfold some weak pairs as well on the turn. As well as, like I said, all those gutters that I could just get folds from. I have 2 overcards. I can bluff on like a queen, a king, and ace. Even though the ace doesn't really make much sense to bluff because I'm not really barreling twice with ace highs. In practice, these players, i.e. recreationals, overfold it. King 6, I'm going to bet now. Once they checked me twice, they're just both going to be pretty weak. And just getting pocket 7s and things like that to fold is going to be good. Now we'll just check down and probably lose to an ace. Oh, nice. King Jack table 3, just an easy check fold on that board, but as bad as it gets. Gets a live caller. Quite noteworthy that their hand should just be a pure like turn probe. I'm going to wrap up the video after these hands. Think there's been a lot of information in this video. Sizing up slightly with queens, we're a bit deeper. Kings were 4 betting. Start 20% on these monotone boards with Jack 10. Kings we can call in this spot, but against this player, I'm just always 4 betting. Interesting one with queens. I think flatting here is the best option, and then getting in on non-ace king boards. And also bringing in the recreational as well. Wow. Okay, I think we can fold it now. Although there is still 150 big blinds left. So I've got to put, I think I'm going all in here. Because of this recreational. Like, I don't think they're doing this with a set. I think they're going to have a lot of jacks, a lot of random stuff. We've seen them call 3 bets with king 8 off. So I think they're just really, really wide here. This player can still have some flush draws, some ace 5, some pocket jacks, most importantly. So I actually think even if I lose to this player, but I'm ahead of this guy, there's 150 big blinds left to win. So I think I'm going with it. Oh, wow. Wow. What a pot to end the video. Jesus Christ. Absolutely crazy. I mean, I need a 2, a 7, or a queen. It's not club here. Oh my God, I won the lot. I mean, what a pot to end the video. Wow, we're up to 1,000 big blinds now. That's cool. Wow, what a pot. I think my thoughts on the flop were fine, right? So this player just jammed it in. So normally if a recreational does this, you'd argue it just doesn't really make much sense. They got a set, right? And what we see from this player, like I mentioned in real time, they called a 3-bet king 8 off. Seen a lot of random stuff from them in the past. So they could just be massively spewing here with pocket 9s, pocket jacks, king 10 suited, ace 10 offsuit, random flush draws, right? So I think because I am still ahead of part of this player's range, like their player of ace king is just, yeah, they can't be go all in here with a player left behind who called a massive 4-bet pre as well, right? So I've got a lot of jacks and queens. So they just have a easy fold. But I'm ahead of part of their range already. Like I'm ahead of jacks. If they're playing properly, they should be 4-betting some ace 10, king 10 suited as well. Some ace 5 suited. They've got some like king queen of clubs, some ace jack of clubs. So I'm ahead of some of their flush draws as well as some of their value. But this player had 150 big blinds behind, and they're never folding once they do this. If they do, fine. It's just they've added free money to the pot, so I'm getting much better price against this player. So even if I'm behind this player and he has ace or kings, I think 90% of the time I'm ahead of this player. And there's 150 big blinds left to win. So I think all those things considered, it's a profitable player, queens. It's really cool. And it's like what I touched on in this video earlier on, like how studying solvers is just not really that effective in how to actually win money against humans in reality. Like the whole use of solvers, people are misusing them so much, and they're just trying to learn equilibrium strategies and implement equilibrium strategies against humans. Use solvers to understand the theory behind the game, build a framework, understand what equilibrium strategies is, but then dive into node locking. I think people are getting better at this. Node locking to actually see what you're supposed to do when your opponents are under bluffing, over bluffing, things like that. And what you'll see is the solvers just shifting their strategy to max exploit that one way or the other by calling everything, folding everything, bluffing everything, whatever it is. So when you have data, it makes this very, very possible to strategy build, whereby you can put the data in, and then the solver will spit out the response on how you're supposed to play against that. The only problem with that is just that if you're going to max exploit every spot, your opponents will pick up on it. So if you're playing against the same players day in, day out, you need to be a bit careful and have some resilience. And by resilience, I mean not get found out what you're doing. Like there's some guys in this pool, I'm not going to name names, who are max exploiting the pool. And that's fine. They're going to make them money. But against competent regs, like myself and other guys in the pool, they're going to notice this and probably fight back. So resilience is about small exploits time and time again, and that EV like adding up over the long run. So my advice to you guys is when you are exploiting, start with the mixed frequency stuff first, so start with, in terms of pre-flop, start with the 0 EV hands as your exploit hands. As soon as you start opening or 3-betting or 4-betting hands that the solver never uses, it could be a massive EV punt if you're making assumptions on the player. There's a reason the solver doesn't use these hands. You can get yourself into a mess, and then all of a sudden if you lose a stack by choosing a hand that the solver never uses, well then it's a massive spew. And you should only save those hands against, massive whales, guys you've got a really, really good feel on. If you're in HUD games whereby a player folds to 3 bets 90% of the time, like all this kind of stuff. But for the most part, firstly, pre-flop, choose those 0 EV hands, have resilience, and post-flop, you have to be flexible. You can't be robotic. The games run around recreationals. Where they are in the table lineup is really important to how you're going to adjust your strategy. Okay, so engage your poker brain, use your poker intuition, learn these skills, get involved in the game, stop spending too much time away from tables staring at solver sims. Like anyone can learn a sim in 15 minutes, but learning one sim is completely irrelevant. You need to take overriding principles that you can apply to multiple spots in poker. But also you need to get in the mix and get experience at the tables. Can you implement strategy in real time under the time microscope of 30 seconds? What are humans actually doing in reality? Is the solver ever going 3-way in a pot like this one here with the queens? No. So these are more important skills. Can you concentrate for long periods of time and implement strategy without tilting, autopiloting, slipping into a C game? These skills on the table are really important to how successful you're going to be as a poker player, not whether you understand an equilibrium strategy in staring at it for 15 minutes. Anyway, enough ramble. Cool pot, cool video. A lot of spots I think here. Hopefully it was beneficial and enjoyable for you guys. I'll be back for another one soon. So take care and I'll see you then.